So second thing is being said that it's like Africa 2.0 version, where again the spheres of influence in Africa will get decided, and the African West African region, which had the Francophile influence, would perhaps tend to go down. Now, whether it's substituted by USA or it is substituted by Russia and China is yet to be seen. So we will keep on tracking this event and see what impacts they have. Of course, this also has direct impact on the availability of grains and foods and medicines and so on in this whole area. The area is quite big, though. Now, coming to the second issue of BRICS, there is a lot of things which are coming in the media and some solid analysis also whether this BRICS will succeed or not. One of the things which is being said is that India and China are not going to get along, therefore BRICS is going to break up. Russia and China are not going to break up on this, and Brazil is not going to break up on this, South Africa is not going to break up on this, and the African nations which are behind Africa are not going to break up. Why? Because there is something useful for them in this exercise. One is to substitute dollar as a currency of exchange in trade wherever possible. Wherever mutual currency payments are possible, they are doing it. Now, India is doing it with UAE, is doing it with Russia, it is doing it with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and so on. China is doing it with 40 countries now. They have yuan trade. Russia, of course, does not do any dollar trade at all because of sanctions. But then there are some number of other countries like Iran, Iraq, who don't do any dollar trade because of the sanctions. So slowly all that group is coming together. Second is that BRICS does not have the gel to make it succeed. Those who support it, they say it is 40% of the population, it is 30-odd% of the GDP, and that GDP percentage will only increase because Europe and US have started stagnating. Close to zero, maximum 1% growth. And of course, Japan also. So that the developed countries' growth period is over now, and they will be at a stable level, though at a high per capita income level and high GDP level too. But China and India and Russia and Iran and Iraq and so on will progressively increase their percentage of the GDP of the world once they come on their own, because Iran and Iraq are stuck because of the sanctions. So if they start trading with each other in mutual currency, then the role of the dollar goes away. Therefore, the role of sanctions for financial thing, not using SWIFT or not, goes away. So there is a natural space now for these countries to get, because Mr. Lula, the president of Brazil, is very popular there, and in many parts of the South America, so also Ramaphosa of South Africa, they are mobilizing their own countries in their own areas to join the BRICS. Middle East is also willing to join. Now already, therefore, UAE, Bangladesh, and Vietnam have joined what is called the National Development Bank. We started with $100 billion equity given by the 5 nations. So NDB is getting prepared to expand in infrastructure funding, social funding, just like World Bank was. And on the other hand, the impression about World Bank is that they have been not fair to the global north countries, and there is a tendency, there is a possibility that this shift takes place. So therefore, media is trying to make it out that China and India has a problem and they will not get together. In my view, it is just a made-up story. It's not correct. There is a military commission which both sides they meet every now and then. The 16th meeting took place a couple of days ago, and the media is saying that nothing happened, negative things happened, but and say that just before the BRICS meeting it has happened, and therefore the meeting will not go successful, summit will not go successful. But actually, if you see the joint statement of the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China, there is a joint statement which says very positive things about it, that we'll continue to have this dialogue and resolve our problems. So the need of using arms is not there. But the media projects is something else. And to media, it's fed by some other people. It becomes very clear when you read it. There are some mistakes which are there in one, continues to be the mistakes in the other. Okay. So what is our assessment? Our assessment is that India-China relationships will not go sour. It is the interest of some other people because of Taiwan context, etc., which we will not go into details of now. Now, next week that meeting will be there. We see how does it go. It looks like at least 40 countries will participate, heads of state or their representatives, and some important decisions will be made. And Mr. Putin, the president of USSR, will participate in the whole meeting, not just in any inauguration or something, via the video link. Okay, so now let's go to the next point about the grains. The Black Sea Grain Initiative is now practically dead. Odisha port is being bombed because Ukraine is still bombing the Kerch Bridge, which connects Crimea to Russia. Okay, the two other routes which were possible going via the Danube River and then all the way going up to Rotterdam by various connections, a couple of thousand kilometers, and going via the road to Hamburg port via most of these Eastern European countries. Those alternatives have also got shot for various reasons, but basically the opposition from those two areas. So third point is that there is a blockade by Russian ships of the Odisha port from which the grain used to go. And there are one or two other minor ports from which they used to go also are blocked. Russia, of course, had asked that, there should be freedom of shipping of their own grain ships also, which was not provided for. They put it on Russia saying that, they have violated some agreement or not. Nothing. It's just that the agreement has not been renewed. Bottom line is, the grain markets are going to be very tough. Bottom line, therefore, is though we have something like 26 million tons of wheat, we are going to import wheat. A few days ago, it was announced that India will be importing 1 million tons, not much, but 1 million tons as a first shipment from Russia. See how the markets are changing. And on the other hand, India had said that they will not allow the exports of rice, and they export 40% of the rice of the world, non-basmati. But there was pressure from IMF, so India has said that they'll give 200,000 tons or so for the African countries. That means the export is allowed to that extent. Because India is worried that, if there is the crop is not very good and this restriction is there, then we might have a high price rise here. Now, and then it connects to, let's say, what is happening in Thailand and Vietnam, which are the major exporters, along with India. And the market of rice has also been changing. In the previous century, we were also short of rice. Then IRR 16 and IRR 35 varieties had come up from the IRRI, the International Rice Research Institute, and the productivity started improving, etc. Now, though China is the largest producer, but then its consumption is also quite large. And studies now show that as the economies progress in terms of per capita income, their rice consumption starts going down because they start consuming other things like meats and all that. So at Korea, it has happened the maximum. So looking at all these parameters of production, what is the situation, what is the requirement, populations have increased or beginning to reduce also, but rice is also expected to be in shortage, which will put pressure on prices, which will put pressure on India, which in the interest of economics of it, as well as in terms of the food security, especially for Africa, might allow exports there. And those exports might have to go there under the conditions of war. Okay, so we will also then keep on studying this, how the interaction takes place between geopolitical, the economics, and of course your own domestic aspects and realities. So briefly, therefore, let's sum it up. Technologically, some exciting news is going to be there next week. Chandrayaan's rover, that is Vikram, will land on the south pole side of moon, but Russia has launched Lunar 25 days later than India, but it is likely to land its rover maybe just 24 or 48 hours before. Reason? It's also a race of a different kind, which used to be between USSR and USA, where who will go to the space first? Yuri Gagarin. How many went to the space later on? We don't remember the names. Neil Armstrong went to the moon and landed there, first person. How many others afterwards went? We don't remember the names. So it's like any other race or competition. We remember maybe first, second, and maybe third, but after that, no. Though I don't know it's a coincidence or whatever it is, or Russia again wants to impress the West that it has not fallen behind in space race either, and its rockets are very good. So our design is also ours, manufacturing is ours. Chandrayaan going there and then releasing the capsule, and from there the rover comes in. A rover is like a robot. It will go and do all the experimentation there. And the other thing will keep on, Chandrayaan will keep on going around the moon, taking pictures and all that, sending, and finally it will crash. And not come back as a reusable vehicle. And that's the difference of SpaceX. Now coming back to the Russia, they are also going to land its rover. Now what is so special about being first there? Because nobody else has landed a rover on so-called the black side of the moon or the South Pole before. There is a scientific guess that there might be water there. And if the water is there, there will be life there. And if it is not there, with so many space missions going, and they're becoming less and less expensive, especially if they are reusable rockets, then who knows, they will take tankers of water there and start doing farming. But let's see. After all, if the interest is there. Now, there are four powers, space powers, China, USA, Russia, and India, who have been able to land their own rovers. By the way, none of the other European countries have done it. And with this, kind of, we get bracketed as third powers, both Russia and India, since nobody has landed a rover on the other side. So we will just look after in terms of look for it, the success of it. Both, we hope, Russia and India. And Russia, after leaving its rocket 25 later, wants 25 hours earlier to land there, so that in the records its name goes. So that's about the technology part of it. We had earlier connected it that with this kind of prowess, it's like showing off what technology you have. India is becoming a power to launch the smaller satellites, and that's becoming its specialty. It's already launched about 360 satellites, and with all these additionalities, it will continue to have that industry, which will then include assembling, manufacturing, designing satellites and launching them and monitoring them so that they are in the orbits properly. So the difference is, rather than very big satellites earlier for communication purposes, now for internet purposes, SpaceX, Web1, through ISRO, will be having number of satellites, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 in low Earth orbits. And hence, this industry, India becomes number one, number two, because most of the NASA industry has already been privatized. So those private people will be there, Raytheon and so on. And so besides the military uses, besides the scientific uses, there are very much these commercial uses which have come to fore, and India is positioned to do well in that. Thank you.